Hello, everyone. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in the capital city of Abuja. And I want to welcome everyone. Thank you, Vicky, Ifechi. Oh, thank God you made it. Thank you to everyone that has joined on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel, on our website. I want to truly appreciate you for staying with us every week. It's episode 53 of Finding Up with Special Needs, which means we've been here week in, week out for the past 53 weeks. That's a huge one. Thank you to you all for always joining us. Um, Everyone that has joined in and that will be joining, I want to actually appreciate you for always making it a date with us on Finding Up with Special Needs. I'm always excited, but today I'm particularly excited because it's Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to us all. If you've been following on our social media handles, you realize that we're having a part two of amazing stories of parents of children with special needs, and it's a special Mother Day edition. So it promises to be an exciting one as always. But today's episode, I'm totally excited about it. But before I bring in my guest, I have a short video to show you to encourage all mothers out there and to wish you a happy Mother's Day. So please stay with me while you enjoy this video and take home the messages. Thank you.
Jalen was born. We were told that he did not pass his newborn screening. A month later, Jalen developed a whole bunch of GI issues that caused lots of hospital stays. He failed to thrive. Unfortunately, we kind of put his hearing on the back burner because he was so fragile at the time. And then when he was about 3 months old, we had him tested again, and we noticed that he had moderate sloping to profound hearing loss. And when he was about 6 months old, he was fitted with his hearing aids for the very first time. He was a candidate for the cochlear implant, and ever since then, Jalen has made leaps and bounds with his speech.
I heard a motorcycle and a dump truck and a plane and a helicopter.
And now he talks and talks and talks and does not stop talking. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
You have so much to say.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so cool and amazing.
You're what?
I am so cool and amazing.
You are so cool and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You use all your words now?
Mm-hmm.
Now that you have your tools on your ears to help you with your words?
Mm-hmm.
When it happens that you have a child that has special needs, you just become a stronger person. You just go about your day pushing yourself more and more, because if you give up, you're giving up on your child, and you can't do that. I hope that other parents can listen to our story, and if they feel a little down and feel like they're at a loss, don't. Continue to be your advocate for your child. Continue to research and find stuff. And I want to share Jalen's story to help others. And I know eventually he's going to want to share his story to help others, because that's the type of person that he is.
Welcome back. I hope that Jaden's story was truly inspirational to you all. There was something the mother said that she said, if you give up on yourself, then you're giving up on the child. So I want, on this Mother's Day edition of Finding Up with Special Needs, I want to encourage all mothers of children with special needs that you do not give up on yourself. There's help all around you. Just look. And that's why we also have Finding Up with Special Needs. Thank you so much again, everyone. So, Miss Alex, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. I want to bring in my special guest. These ladies are amazing. I had a discussion with them and I couldn't stop. I'm sure we're going to learn quite a number of things from them today. So without much ado, before I bring them up, I want you to share this video right now. If you've truly been getting lots of nuggets from the past 53 weeks we've been having Finding Up with Specialists, share this video so you can have everyone else join us so they can learn as much as you've been learning. Don't forget to comment and leave your questions for our guests. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can always get notified when we come up online to share all that you need to know on Finding Up with Special Needs. It's a truly special day, and it's Mother's Day, and I have two beautiful, amazing parents, mothers of children with special needs to tell us amazing stories about their journey as parents of children with special needs. So I'm going to bring in my two guests right away. Thank you again, Blessing Gabby, for everyone. Yeah, we have Daisy. Yeah. We have Rebecca. I'm so excited to have you. Welcome, ladies. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lola, for having us.
Excited to have you. We hope we can learn from you today. I'm sure we can, because I've learned quite a lot in the few minutes I spoke with you earlier. Welcome. So I'll have Daisy introduce herself, and when she's done, remember you introduce yourself. On Finding Out with Special Needs, we want our guests to blow, and I mean it literally, blow your trumpet. You deserve it. So blow it. Tell us who you are, what you do. Tell us about yourself, basically. Just tell us about yourself and the amazing things you're doing, and then we can now go into the main story or the main gist for today. So over to you, Daisy.
Thank you so much, Lola. I hope I'm able to blow my trumpet a little bit. My name is Daisy, Daisy Jonathan, and I'm popularly called Mrs. Jonathan, by my children and people I work with. I am a behavior analyst, a qualified autism specialist and services provider under the QABA board. I'm also a special educator. I run organizations basically that care for children and educate children with needs generally. I run Places Education Center in Port Harcourt, Places schools in Lekki, and Places Port Harcourt and Lekki too. In addition to that, I run Pleasant Places Training Academy. Pleasant Places Training Academy is an organization that builds the capacity of parents, of teachers, of therapists to be able to provide what I call compassionate and competent services to individuals with needs. I also am a trainer. I'm a board certified cognitive specialist. So what else? I'm an advanced certified autism specialist. And very importantly, I think the most important is that not only am I caring for other people's children, I am a mom. I have 3 fantastic children, but I have one who is extra special, extra fantastic, extra fabulous, and that's my second son, who has an autism spectrum disorder. Yeah, I think I've said what I can. I hope I didn't throw anything out, but whichever we'll put it all together later.
You did a good job. Well done. I like the fact that most especially the special son living is really amazing. Well done. And to think that with all of that, you've achieved so much. Well done. I truly celebrate you. Well done, Daisy. Over to you, Remima.
Hello, thanks for having me on here. I'm a mom of 3. I've got 2 boys who are autistic and a little girl who's just 2 years old. And I think at the moment, it seems like she might also be, on the spectrum, but they're still going through all the assessment. And also, what else? Yeah, and I also run a sensory toy business, which I've started, I think, before the first lockdown. So when they announced, COVID and everything, and I was like, oh, it just happened that at that time I was thinking of going into the toy business, because I think that I noticed that like when it comes to like my boys' development and helping them, I notice that they do better when it comes. They engage more when they are playing or they are doing creative stuff. So that's what inspired me to go into the sensory toy business and creating like play kits and play doh and everything to do with play. And at the moment that's what I do, just selling sensory toys, and it's going on well for me. Oh yeah, and I'm also a wife to a wonderful man who is very supportive. I like to put that in there too. Yeah, so that's I think that's it for now.
I need you to especially thank your husband for me, really. I met both of you online and I'm like, these people are amazing. Both of you are amazing. Thank you for agreeing to watch the kids. And I don't mind, like I said, if James or any of them want to be on the show,
Very
please
soon
have
because
them.
we want to eat his indomie and I bought the wrong color.
Oh,
So it's getting a
oh,
bit upset.
mama.
I bought the wrong one.
Well done, well done. Thank you for this. This means a lot to me. It's Mother's Day, and I know most Sunday evenings, most mothers want to be celebrated right now because after church and all of that, all the days movement, you want to spend the evening just relax and all that. Thank you for choosing to spend your evening with us on Finding Up with Special Needs. Thank you for all that you do. I'm going to go back to Daisy, and I want her to talk to us about a journey so far. Talk to us, tell us how you found out that your son is living with autism. What was it like? And how has the journey been?
Thank you so much, Lola. It's been a long journey. We've not reached our destination, so it's better we start from where we started from, basically. Okay, so my second son came in quite quickly. I always say he's the only child I didn't pray. I was not frantically asking God for. My first son, I wanted to get pregnant really fast, but he was a child that came, inside the love. The whole love was there, and he popped up. And so when I was pregnant with him, I was quite, excited to be a mother for the second time. I had a lot of time in my hands because I had just, moved from one state to another one here in Nigeria. So he came very well loved, very handsome, very that kind of child you give birth to and you ask yourself, well, is this my son? He looked so cute, so bubbly and handsome, and development went on really fine. My children tend to talk quite early, and he was not an exception. He started to speak even before he turned one. He would count after his brother. He would say stuff. I can vividly remember that he was counting, he would go 1 to 10 with his elder brother when his brother is having lectures and all of that. So on a given day, a friend came to visit, and she came with a son. Her son was about 8 years, big, chubby, smart little boy. And as soon as they stepped into my house, the boy ran straight into my kitchen, opened the refrigerator, got out cake, and he started to eat. And his mother, you could see the whole embarrassment on her face and all of that. So I said, okay, it's okay, but I had to ask questions. I mean, why? I mean, he's 8 years. You would expect an 8-year-old to have some level of, decorum, what is proper, what is not. So I started to ask this friend, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, and she said, oh, well, that nobody has been able to tell her what is wrong, but she can see that the child used to speak, now he doesn't speak, hyperactive. So she gave me the whole lowdown. And very inquisitive as I was, and I still am. As soon as she left, I went to Google, which was not so popular at the time while it was there. I went to Google and I typed in 8-year-old not speaking, hyperactive, and what came up was autism. Then I started to read the symptoms, the red flags. I started walking on tiptoes, spinning in circles, eye contact, and then I said, wait a minute, this is my son. this is my son. Because at the time he was, beginning to work. He had started to walk on tiptoes, and a lot of the language had dropped. But I felt because we had just moved into a new town, The language had dropped, the speech had dropped. He was avoiding us. He was running into corners. So first, I saw that, man, it looks like this guy is on the spectrum somehow. So the first person I spoke with was my husband. And my husband can be very religious and spiritual. So he said, no, God forbid, over my dead body. It's not, why? No, basically, the imagination works too fast and wide. Why would you think about, he just went on and on. And as the months grew, as the months went by, he seemed to even be losing more and more and more. And I kept telling him that it looks like there's something wrong. So we had to go to the doctor. The doctor said, no, madam, your child is fine. You're just comparing him, and went home. A second time we went. A third time, this young man decided that the doctor was not doing his job well. So as soon as he got into the office, he, went on a computer and he, threw out, and then the man said, oh, okay, it looks like there's something. And then he wrote just one word on a prescription paper and said to give it to the pharmacist. And that word was Ritalin. So, of course, I went again on Google and I saw Ritalin, schizophrenia, not to be given to a child less than 6, and all of that. And I'm like, does he even know what he's doing? And, so that was how the journey really started. Well, as soon as he gave that script, I knew that I had work to do, because by the time I read, somebody was exactly telling me what I thought at the time. And then for the first time, my husband was beginning to understand that there was something, going on with our little boy. So I went around, as parents I want to do. I went for, I went to the second opinion, then the third one, and the fourth opinion. So I kept going. I would travel from this state to the other, and then again, the diagnosis kept coming, autism spectrum disorder. One person actually mentioned PDD-NOS at that time. So, that was it. So I had to, I knew that I had work, to do. I had work to do. So I don't know if I stop here now.
Yes, you actually, I wanted to say, but I like the fact that you told us how the journey began and then where you are right now. I love that. And I'm thankful that you were able to identify when to stop. I can't imagine, really, I can't, when you're looking for an answer. And that's one thing I realized with Nigerians. We believe our doctors, which is not a bad thing. Doctor says this to you. But my question, when you said he wrote Ritalin, did he tell you, was there any, and that's one thing and one of the reasons we are finding up with specialists is also to equip our listeners, our parents, on what to do. Because the ideal thing would have been, this is what we are seeing, and these are the options you have. Because you said was there a diagnosis before the doctor gave you the medication? No, nothing.
There was no diagnosis, Lola. You know how it is. There was no diagnosis, and I can still confidently say I haven't gotten any diagnosis in Nigeria. Outside of Nigeria, I did get, but within Nigeria, it was more like, go do this, go do that. Apart from someone who mentioned PDD-NOS, but I never got that.
Yeah, even that, because I also realized that in Nigeria, because I've been to like 5 years ago, we had an autism awareness in Abuja, in one of the biggest hospitals, National Hospital, and about 60% of the doctors there were, it was shocking to me. I want to say I was shocked to realize that they didn't even know what autism was as at then, and I'm happy we did that, and we're curious. They're curious. But the thing for me was even there's no doubt, you should be able to explain something to me as opposed to just giving me a piece of paper. And then that puts you in a more confused state, And I'm thankful you were quite, you were quite knowledgeable, and you knew what the medication was. Imagine you giving your child that was less than 6-year-old. Who knows what the side effects would have been by then? What I'm trying to say in all of this is that ask questions. We should ask questions. It's your right to ask questions as a parent. What exactly is this for? If you don't get, if I cannot get, for me, what I did sometimes in time past, before I knew to ask questions, I had medical friends that I'll go to them for a second opinion. That, what do you think about this medication? What do you think about that? As opposed to doctors said, and I'm not questioning, I'm not putting down the fact that doctors are quite knowledgeable, but it's also good for us to ask questions. when we are being told take this medication or take that medication, because sometimes the child might not even react properly. The child might have some allergy reaction to some medications. It's always good to ask questions. Well done, well done. Thank you for sharing the story with us, Daisy, and thank you for doing going the extra mile to inquire about what that medication was for. I hope our parents are listening. I hope our audience are listening. That it's good to ask questions. Thank you, Daisy. Over to you, Emimo. I'm sure your story is going to be slightly different from Daisy's, because
Yes.
I just started in Nigeria. What was it like in the UK?
Right. So when I had Shaheen, the delivery was, I think, as the first time it was difficult. I thought I was going to lose it and everything. I think the labor went on for like 2 days or so. So it made me more, and I
Where was
think
this? Where was this? Where?
UK, in the UK.
Wow.
At the time, I was newly married, and my husband wasn't with me. He was in school in Cyprus. So it was kind of like I was kind of like alone through the delivery process. So I had like this special. It made me have this special attachment to Shaheen. Like it was like my husband, my son, my everything. Like it was always the two of us and stuff. So I was really, really close to Shaheen, and I used to notice like sometimes my mother-in-law used to come over to visit and check and be with the child and be with him, because I was in my final year as well, writing my exam. So my mother-in-law was around. So like sometimes I noticed like when it was like 3, I think like 4 months old, I noticed he used to make like some, eye rotation kind of thing from nowhere. And I used to be scared. And mother-in-law said, well, get out. There's nothing wrong with the boy. Why are you scared? Why are you scared? But like he just used to do some off things like that. And I'll be like, this doesn't look, this seems strange to me. But because of the first time mom, I also thought, okay, maybe it's all over my head. I'm overreacting and stuff. Then fast forward to when he was during the time he used to come to Nigeria to see his dad, because when his dad finished from Cyprus, he moved back to Nigeria before we could apply for him to come over. So he would go to Nigeria to see his dad while I'm here. So I didn't really observe a lot because I wasn't really with him. So when he came back, when I brought him back to the UK and he started nursery, it was at nursery that he became like, okay, Fahim is a little different from every other child. Because at the time, when he was a year old, he wasn't walking yet. He wasn't blabbing. And here in the UK, you get health visitors who will come over to see your child, do the assessment. So when he did his 2-year assessment, he did not miss anything. Like they will ask questions like, can he say maybe 5 words or 10 words? And I'm like, no. Can he do this? Can he do that? I'm like, no. So they're like, okay, you know what? Some children are a bit delayed. Let's give it another 6 months and see how it goes. So the 6 months came, there really wasn't that much improvement. And this nursery I put in, they already knew that he was autistic. And they were seeing the signs and stuff. And they just said to me, because I think it's not in that place to tell me, because they're not a professional. So they just said to me that how far with his health, with his assessment, have they gotten back to you? I'm like, no, that I'm getting frustrated. They said they'll come 6 months and they keep changing the person and messing me about. So the lady told me that I should go through my GP and tell my GP will assess him for speech therapies, to a speech therapist. And I was thinking, the speech therapist, but it didn't really click to me that why should I, go and meet a speech therapist. So when they told me that, I was like, okay, yes, for sure I'll do it, because, maybe to make the process faster, because he's not talking. I noticed other children, when they'll be mama, dada, he's not doing mama, dada. It was and another thing was so much into my phone. And I remember they used to play Temple Run. And Shane was so good that even son my age then couldn't beat the scores he was beating. So I used to think that, this boy is so special. But like things like that, he had like specific things that he was interested in. And I noticed that he was interested in numbers. But the speech wasn't there. So I was like, okay, maybe he's deaf in one ear and can't hear at all. So when the speech and language therapist came and they assessed him, everything, did the assessment, then they now told me, they said, from our assessment, your son has autism. And I was like, my son has autism. Well, which one are all these Oyibo people say? Which one is autism? Like, it's explaining and everything they were saying at that point. I can honestly tell you, I can remember that day very well. I did not understand. I zoned out. I honestly did not understand because everything sounded gibberish. Like, what's autism? What is this one now that you're saying autism and stuff? But my husband knew that he was autistic, but it was in denial, like maybe it isn't. Because he's very knowledgeable. My husband is very knowledgeable with things like that. And his brother was also like Shaheen, but he was never diagnosed with autism. But looking back at it, I think that my husband's brother is autistic as well. But you know, Nigeria, they don't do all these things. So that's how we found out, and they told me it was really hard for me. I went through a lot of denial. I went through a lot of, people saying there's nothing, these white people, they like to put things on black children. Don't believe them. You also hear it is spiritual. Don't, this is spiritual. Let's take him to church and pray for him. Like so many things going on. And it just took me, I can remember for like 3-4 months, I was miserable because I really didn't understand what they were diagnosing him with. I'd never heard of it before. My husband was going through his own denial. I was going through my own denial. So my own husband's denial, for example, was him not talking about it at all. And why me, I'm always asking questions like, okay, what does it mean? Are they saying that you never talk? Are they saying that this? Are they saying that, like I was so confused. And it just got to a stage where I was like, you know what? I have to like reflect on why am I really focusing on what my son is doing that is not so great, or comparing to other children, rather than the things my son is actually doing that are so great and so wonderful. For example, he was good with numbers, he was good with computer and stuff. So at some point I had to focus, and I think what actually made me realize that was and I always say this story all the time. There was one day I was in my thought, I was crying, and Shane was rolling on the floor on the bus. People were giving us dirty looks and stuff. And I noticed these 2 women with Down syndrome entering the bus. And I was so lost looking at them, and they were so happy. They were talking, they were communicating and stuff. And that thing kind of triggered something in my head, like, these people, if someone with this challenge is so happy, they are living, they didn't even have no one looking after them. They were so happy, they were talking. I won't notice one even looking at me and saying, like, what are you looking at? Kind of attitude. But I didn't know I was like so lost in like my own thoughts and stuff. And that thing kind of triggered something in my head that, like, why am I focusing on the negative things? Why aren't I focusing on the positive things that my son is doing so well? And that's kind of like made life so easy for us, even up to date. And also that really helped me now that my second son is also diagnosed as well, recently diagnosed as well, and helping me to make that journey easier. So like with Sufyan now, once I noticed from like 9 months that yes, he's on the spectrum, I started like implementing so many things like, outdoor activity, play therapy, communicating with his school, for example, working together before he even got his diagnosis. They'll say, okay, let's maybe try like a picture reference for him. Okay, that is working, that is not working. So it really made life more easier for me with Sufyan. And also knowing all the signs and stuff to look out for.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Oyimo. I can't imagine your first child. Well, it's never easy, even if it's first or second. I mean, anyone that gets a diagnosis like that would be shocked. What did I do wrong? What happened?
Yes.
I mean, the pregnancy was smooth. Nothing happened. Could it be spiritual? Like we say in Africa, But thank you for sharing your story with us. I want to ask you a question before I go back to Daisy. It's one thing, I know we've spoken a bit, about Shahim and Sophia's diagnosis, and I'm like, how, some people were like, okay, it's one, and then the second one. But when like I said to you, I said to both of you, when we did the test initially, I said, you guys, if there's any word like that, Mother's Day hero for 2021 it's both you and Daisy and Wemimo, you know. But I said also, I remember saying that I don't know how you do it. I'm a service provider. I see these kids, although I get some calls, but maximum 7:30 to 5 o'clock, maximum 6 o'clock. I'm done. I go back, I mean, refresh myself and get ready for a new day. But you are with this awesome gems. You're with them from 24/7, 5 days a week, a year. And I keep asking myself, how do you cope? Not one diagnosis. The second one, most likely a third one is coming to you. Don't tell me you just embraced it just like that. What, how did you get into that stage of acceptance? I know you said the story about seeing some people on the bus with Down syndrome, but was that just it? Are there times that you feel down? And then once you how did you get to that stage of acceptance for real? And then what were the expectations you had? Because that will bring me to the question I'm bringing to Daisy. To Daisy, I want to know, what was it like that got you to that acceptance? What beyond those ladies you saw? Because there'll be times that you still ask questions. If I'm not wrong, I stand to be corrected. That you ask question, why me? 1 second. I mean, the first child, the second child, a third child might also be on the spectrum.
Yeah.
When you're alone, how do you go ahead to do what you do? For you, I don't know how you do it. I see all your videos, and you're like, even when Shahiri did something, you capture it. I'm like, how does she do it? How do you do it? And what gave you, how did you get to the stage of, these are the expectations I have for my son and my sons, really? I think it's a lot, but how do you do it?
Okay. I think what triggered it is, like I said, seeing those children with those adults with Down syndrome and seeing that they are actually independent and happy, and stuff. But I also think what helped me with accepting is that not focusing on the negatives, but the positive, and not worrying about things that are out of your control. Your child is autistic. What is the way forward, really? I spend so much time crying and I won't lie. I still have those moments where I cry, but I cry because I'm overwhelmed or I'm having a bad day. Not that I'm glad that my children are autistic, no. But like maybe like I have to focus with like work now, and I'm that kind of person. Like when I'm working, my customer service has to be 100%, and I feel like maybe I'm having a bad day and I can't give my 100%. My children want me everything. Yes, till today I cry, right, and I get upset and stuff. But I don't cry that my children are autistic, because I think part of my accepting my children as well is understanding that what is really wrong in a child being autistic, really. There's really nothing wrong in a child being autistic, and that's just the way I think, and that is part of me accepting them, and also always trying to I notice when I'm in my mood, or when I'm a bit down, I understand that it actually affects them as well, and they can tell that I am. So sometimes when I'm in that mood, I kind of like, okay, right, it's time to focus on myself, or focus on the children, or do this or do that. So I try not to worry. And I think what also used to put me in that stage before was that I was always worrying that, okay, what is it? Some people will come now, like with Sophia now, some people will come now and start telling me that, it's because of the vaccine. That is why Sophia is autistic, because the first one is autistic. And I get irritated because you're telling me this information, right? But how is that going to change my child from being autistic? What does that information have to do with me? It has nothing to do with my present situation. So don't come and add more stress to my wahala. I don't have time for that, And some people I would politely just say, okay. And there are some people I will just block them, because I just don't have, you cannot just bring that kind of energy to me, because you're not making my life better. So I also try and stay away from toxic people, because really, if you really think about, if you really want to be honest, no one is really worried that their child is autistic. What is more upsetting to them is the fact that people view their child as poverty. And once you can like get that out of your mind, these people don't pay your bills. If you tell them to give you 1 kobo now for therapy, they will not give you. They'll tell you, hey, okay, I'm coming. So why are you coming to tell me my child has autism because of vaccine, or it is spiritual? Do you know what I'm saying? So getting out toxic people from my life really helped me. Understanding that, yes, there are some battles I will win, there are some battles that I would not win. It's part of it. So like for Shaheen now, at some point I said, okay, you know what? If Shaheen doesn't talk, it is fine by me. But what is not fine by me is him not able to communicate.
Yes.
That is very important because think about it. If you have a child that is deaf, will you be expecting a miracle for that child to speak? You're going to have to deal with it. So that's how I look at it, that okay, my child cannot speak, no problem. And I noticed that when I noticed that okay, I wasn't worrying about my child not speaking, my child started speaking. Even sometimes I touch him, get out, you're disturbing me. Just get out of my side. I don't want to hear you talk anymore. Because it will tell you how it is and tell you, mommy, no, don't tell me that. Okay, you're rude. You need to go and stay in your room. I'm like, you don't talk to your mom like that. I say, yes, you are. You know, so me not worrying about things, me understanding it is okay to be upset sometimes, you know, has really helped me a lot.
Thank you. Talking about strength now, because this will lead me to the question I'm going to ask Daisy. Being that she's in Nigeria and I know she would have 1 or 2 things to share with us. Talking about strength of your child, because you said something very profound. You said you focus more on the strength, and that's one way or one of the major ways you've been able to keep going on. You know, so talking about, I know, and I also know you are a mother of 2 children living with autism, and I know they are different. And we had that discussion, they are both different. You know, how are you able to? Because I can imagine, I have 2 neurotypical kids, and I see the difference between my daughter and my son. You know, I see the total difference. I'm like, oh, this is who this person is. This is who that person is. That might be easy for me. But there are a lot of things going on, you know, when it comes to a child with autism, several things going on. And you have another child with autism, several things going on. How are you able to sit down and come up with your based on the strength they have? How are you able to articulate or make known your expectations for each of them? How are you able to do that?
My expectation for them is that I don't know how to really put it, but I think I allow them to be themselves. One. I don't know how it works in Nigeria, but like in the UK, they have a EHC plan. So Sophia is in the process of having a EHC plan for when he enters primary school. So they have expectations for like Shaheen in school, for example, whereby okay, he can do this. So they don't put his expectation to a child's age because they know that he cannot really, you know, meet up with the children of his age. And there are actually some things that he does that is over that expectation anyways. Like in computer, for example, he does better than the children in his class. In math, he's one of the top 4 or top 5. But when it comes to like things like English, he's not good at it. You know, and he's still struggling with it because like with Shaheen learns words through echolalia. So, and even till now, it's kind of like scripted words. So if you go out of the script or ask him something very differently, he would not understand what you're really asking him. And that's why if you notice, like you said in some of our videos, if he says something, I have to correct him. So if Shaheen wants to say, for example, I want to eat Indomie, you say Shaheen wants to eat Indomie. And I have to correct him, no, Shaheen wants to eat Indomie. Say, I want to eat Indomie. You know? So like with this expectation, I don't pressure him. I would say I don't pressure him. And I don't put so much pressure in like, I want him to do this. When the time comes, it will come. And I also think what also helps as well is I always work with the people who are involved with Shaheen. So I have a good relationship with his teacher. I have a good relationship with his teaching assistant. I have a good relationship with everyone. So they always tell me things that they know Shaheen can do, but maybe he's having a bad day and he's not doing those things, they tell me. So sometimes I can tell them that I think it's because maybe we had a bad morning, or maybe somebody shouted at him or something, and we try and work on it. Like recently, my neighbor who he used to talk to, she committed suicide. And I had to explain to Shahim. Shahim knew, as much as I tried to hide him, he knew, and he was really upset for like almost a month. He was really upset at school because he would just keep talking about death and death, and he wasn't focusing in school. So they knew that there was absolutely nothing they can do. He had to go through those emotions. So putting so much pressure on Shahim, I don't do that. I never do that. I let it be, and I never compare him, because there's some things, like I said, Shahim does now that Sufyan doesn't do. Like a lot of things that Sufyan, like now at this age, Sufyan, if you tell Sufyan that, Sufyan, you're looking for my trouble, go and sit down. Or you want to eat it, you understand, but the speech is not there. Whereas with Shaheen, that wasn't there. So I understand that the things I have to work on for both of them is very different. And also, I think that what is also helping me with coping with both of them is the age difference. Shaheen is at the age of, I want to do my own thing, and I don't want anybody bothering me. Only when I want to eat, you see Shaheen come downstairs and come and talk to me. So that gives me the energy to handle Sufyan, because Sufyan is very energetic, and like I even say, Sufyan is very troublesome. It's just like my always say to him, you're just me. I see myself in you. Like, it's very if he wants to play outside, he wants to play outside. There's no compromise with Sufyan. So I think because their ages are like very different, it helps me. Now I don't know whether if Susan is now diagnosed, I don't know how I'm going to cope, but I am sure that I'll cross that bridge one way or the other. And also having a supportive husband too, whereby when I'm having like a day where it is just too much, I can say to him, you know what, Oricha, I'm gone, I'm done, I'm going to the room, and I'll go and hide for like 1 hour, and he's fine by it. And then you might come upstairs and start laughing at me and say, hey, they don't frustrate you today. I'm like, yes, I've had enough. I just need alone time. I want to be on my own. So having that support too is also helpful for me in coping with, both of them's needs. And mostly not worrying too much. Don't worry about things that are out of your control. It will come with time. Do what you can do. Do your best. Work with people. So if you have like speech therapists or whatever working with your children, you should be with. Don't think that they're your enemy or whatever. You should be happy to work with them. If they say your child did something, like sometimes if Shaheen does something that is naughty in school and they tell me, and I'll tell them in front of, if he does anything naughty, tell me. We understand some things he might do because he doesn't understand he's naughty. But when we know you understand what he's doing is naughty, you have to say, you can't say because he's autistic, you're not going to tell him off. Yes, tell him off, and he will tell you he's sorry. So yeah, he will tell you he's sorry. But sometimes when he does something that is naughty, they will tell him off in school, but they will tell me and say they think he doesn't understand what he did. But we had to explain to him, and he cried and he said he's sorry, and I'm sure he will not do it again. So just not putting pressure on your children is most important. It will come.
Thank you, Wemimo. Thank you for keeping it so real. Thank you for sharing your own coping techniques. Thank you so much. Thank you. The good thing is that you're in the UK, but you're African like us, you're Nigerian. So yes. I think we can relate with what you're talking about. Thank you for sharing such wonderful coping techniques with us. Yes. So back to you, Daisy. When Wemimo was speaking, she talked about, after the diagnosis, unlike yours, you couldn't get a diagnosis in Nigeria. I don't know at what point you got the diagnosis, but I'm sure that your expectation was, what is the next? How do I help my child? What was it like? What was the journey like for you? For when it has to do with service providers, and what was your relationship with? Was the service more? Like I was asking about expectation, and that's why I said it would lead to your question. I'm not, like I said, you did have a diagnosis. I'm sure, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you needed help. What was it like finding help? One, was it based on your expectation? And then how did you feel about the service that was being rendered to you?
Lola, first thing, I read a lot. I did read a lot. I said to someone that I thought at the time that I was the only person, in Nigeria that had a child like that. So I looked outside of Nigeria in terms of literature, what to read. I buried myself in books, on websites, and what the turning point for me was reading Temple Grandin's story and how her mother did not accept. Okay, so this is it. Now, there are two things. When people talk about acceptance, this whole talk of neurodiversity and this child is meant to be this way. I never believed that my child was meant to be that way. Perhaps because I had seen a glimpse of who he was created to be. Remember I said he had these skills and then he regressed. So I had seen that child bubbly, speaking, engaging, and then somehow it looked like I had lost him. So it was the process of finding him. I needed to find him. And I read a lot. And one of the things that hit me at that time was the fact that Temple Grandin's mom, according to Temple Grandin, accepted the diagnosis quite all right. And I do accept my child's diagnosis. But what she did not accept was the fact that the child cannot be better. And that was the premise I stood on. Yes, I do understand he's got this diagnosis. I know he has this condition. We had, name it in the books. We would go 72 hours without sleep. He would pick on his skin. He had picas. He would chew from the walls. He would chew batteries. He would, hit himself. We had the whole works, basically, everything you can talk about. He would run away, we had the escape, he would run away from home, from church, he would do so many things. And what I refused to do was accepting that he cannot be better. So I want to start from there. When parents talk about acceptance, we talk about acceptance like, okay, so this is how this child is meant to be, or neurodiversity this child has. No, I don't believe that. So what I tell parents, accept the diagnosis, first and foremost. Accept that this child has a condition. If I am hypertensive, for example, or I have diabetes, I will first accept that, yes, this is diabetes, but I am not going to say this is how I am. So because this is how I am, I don't go talking, doing the lifestyle changes to me. And that's one of the major things I think worked for me. The fact that I knew that this child can be better, he can behave better, he can read better, he can learn better, he can speak better. So the expectations were there, but the pressure was not on him. So I agree with when he says, don't pressurize the child. No, don't put the pressures there, but work on the environment to support the child to be the best that he can be. That's very important, because people mistake acceptance for saying, okay, he's autistic, so because he's autistic children don't talk, autistic children don't do this, autistic children are less than, autistic children have to be dependent on, on siblings when they are older. It may be a possibility for some. It may be a possibility for some. Remember that we're talking about an entire spectrum of disorders. So it could be, there are children who will, and I tell parents that there's some children who may never, do some of these things we want them to do. So we have to plan accordingly. But there are also children who can be better if we just put those things in place. And it was from that I said, how now can I help this child? So I started to seek for answers. I had a lot, I did a lot of trips. God bless my husband, he had to pay a lot of money. In Nigeria, I would go from this place to the other place. I had a lot of online consultations, everybody, and it wasn't so easy. It wasn't so easy. It still is not easy to get people who know. Sometimes when I look back to what I heard in those days, and I just laugh because I'm like, this person, I hope she has changed. I hope this person has learned better. And these, fellow professionals now that I'm like, okay, I hope this person has learned a bit more. 10 years is a long time. So I did try to get that help from Nigeria, first and foremost, because key for me was the fact that I needed my husband. I needed his support. I needed him by my side. I knew that it was not a journey I could do alone. I knew also that he needed to be a part of his child's life. So, I mean, just yanking him off and going somewhere wasn't an option for me. So the only other thing was to find the best way to reach this child. And I did get some very whack services, horrible services. I did get a lot of horrible services. So horrible that one day I woke up and I said, you know, I'm not going to do this anymore. So for me, the point that there was a day I went to a center with my child, then he was in school and he would go to the center on Fridays. And I took him to the center. I had relocated to another town because of him, because I thought I would get better services in that. So I was in Warri at the time he was diagnosed, and then I moved on to Port Harcourt because I felt he would get, And then I went to the center, and I was told to come at so time, and I went there with him. When I got there, and I started to look for the staff. But I could see the children. The children were all there, nobody. There was nobody in sight. I would say, hello, anybody here? Somebody else would echo back, hello, anybody here? So I walked in and I saw these children. There was a dirty mattress somewhere. There was, the place looked unkept. I saw the children. One was steaming somewhere. One was climbing the barbed wire. The other one was, and I wept. I just broke down and I wept. I wept, and I took my son, I put him in the car. I drove some distance away, and I couldn't drive again. I just, parked the vehicle and I wept. And I said, is this how my child is going to be? That was the question I asked myself. Is this the future for him? Now, I'm a Christian, and no apologies. There's a word that says that my thoughts, and that's what has guided me, my thoughts towards you are thoughts of good, not of evil, to bring you to an expected end. So I said, surely God himself wants better for this child. And that was what helped. So I decided to go for courses. I started to do online courses. First, I did a Montessori course, and I started to homeschool him. I took him out of school. I started to homeschool. I got a therapist in to work with him at home. That wasn't working either. My son used to have very horrible sensory issues. And then the therapist would come with, body odor and all of that. So I had to tell him how to clean himself up. So basically, I was the one handling, and it was based on the little I know. So I started off that journey and all of that. And what I want to tell parents basically is raise the bar. Raise the bar. That's it. Raise the bar. Don't accept it. This is Africa. I can understand if Wemimo has all of that support. This is Nigeria. In Nigeria, if somebody says hello to your child and your child does not respond, they're going to look at him. If in Nigeria, your child is acting up in church, and so I knew that I had a lot of work to do. And first, that work wasn't going to be on my child because it's who he is. All I need to do is support him. So the first thing I tell parents is read. Take up courses. There are so many free courses these days, but by all means, pay. Free courses are exactly what they are, free. And when they are free, they don't hold much. Pay to be mentored. Pay to be coached. Pay to be trained. Pay to get professionals see your child. It's appalling when I see parents, prefer to buy a Louis Vuitton handbag over paying for the services of a professional, to care for their children. I get really emotional. Really, it's not so smooth. It's even tougher for those of us in Africa. It is tougher for us in Nigeria because we do not have we don't have at all a social security system. We do not have proper education in place. We do not have the right. If your therapist abuses your child, for example, and you take them to the police, they are most likely going to set him free. You do not have that support. You do not have that background. So you cannot afford to be screaming, "I'm proud of autism." You can be proud of your child, but not of the condition. So I always would tell parents, we need to differentiate between this is my child and this is what needs to be done and this is the condition. I know and I understand what he's going through. I understand the challenges he's faced with, due to his diagnosis. But I also understand he's first and foremost a child. And because he's first and foremost a child, my responsibility is to be his mother. And as a mother, I mean, today is special Mother's Day edition, so let's talk about mothers. And as a mother, my first job is to nurture him to greatness. And that has worked for me. Gradually, I started to change. I mean, there were things I did that were quite drastic. I did a lot of interventions, some I'm not proud of, I will tell you. Some I'm not proud of. You hear this protocol, you run here. You run here, this protocol, you run there. You hear that this person, all because and I'm happy that I went through that journey. Because I can tell parents like me now that, see, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yes, I've walked this walk. I have seen it, and I can tell you what works and what does not work, basically. So there's an entire, understanding that there's an entire community out there or an entire industry out there to milk parents, of special needs and to prey on our emotions, basically. As soon as I understood that, I said, see, the best thing is to work on myself. I need to know. So if I take my child to a school, I should know about the curriculum. If you say you're bringing out a British curriculum, I would have done my research. So that I'm talking from the point of view of knowing. There's knowledge, there's skills, not based on what I heard or what someone, people, parents say stuff and say, and people told me that in that center, children don't progress. I don't do that. I find out what are your strategies. Is it a right fit for my child? And that's what you should be looking at. I mean, sometimes people come to my organization, Pleasant Places, and they say, and I say, see, sorry, we're not the right fit for your child. And they get upset. Oh, Mrs. Jonathan is so proud. Oh, she feels because she feels she has arrived. No. It's not every service that is a fit for your child. You need to first and foremost know your child. Know your child and work with the child that you have been given. That is a child you have been given. That child was not given to any other person. It was not given to the therapist. It was not given to the school owner. That child was given to you as a parent. And you must begin to put together those skills, those knowledge, the things about his condition. So it's not always about autism, whether it's Down syndrome, it's cerebral palsy, dyslexia, all the specific learning disabilities and all of that. Understand them and know. Then I always would say, work on yourself, work on yourself, work on yourself, work on your emotions. Get to the point that Webby must spoke about, the point where you are comfortable enough about the diagnosis and knowledgeable enough to make the right decision. Once you get to that point, you will discover that you're not running, helter-skelter and all of that. Go back and read about Debbie Phelps. Debbie Phelps is the mother of Michael Phelps, the Olympian, and it's the same story. She discovered that her son had needs. That's Debbie Phelps, the mother of Michael Phelps. She discovered her child had needs. She accepted the diagnosis. But she did not accept that that's the best her child can be. Look at it all over history. Look at what's his name now? He fight for president of the United States. He's not autistic, by the way. He's a doctor. The neurosurgeon, black neurosurgeon. I can't remember his name. Ben Carson. Ben Carson had challenges with his schoolwork, and his mother, always the mother. His mother said, "Fine, I agree with what they said about you. No problem, but we're going to work to change it." And she began to put structures. So it's about putting those structures in place. It's about changing your environment, changing your own mindset, to say, what's the best I can do for this child? What can I do for this child? So my son, for example, knows not to do certain things with me. And I have never had to, cane him into submission or punish him into submission. It's understanding how his mind works. So I talked about sleep issues, for example. So let me try to be a little bit practical. So he used to go for hours on end without sleep. And what I would do, he would come to my room, and that means that I wouldn't have sleep either. And then he would also wake up his brother would not. So everybody in the house had to have sleep issues because he had sleep issues. So what I told him was, see, it's okay that you are awake, but you cannot go to your brother. Allow him to have a sleep. And then you cannot also come to my room. So if you are awake, this is what you can do. I gave him, you can do this and do this and do this. You can decide to play with this. You can decide to read a book. You can decide to, I gave him all of that, And if he does come to my room, I redirect him to his room. So now when he's not able to sleep, he's not coming in. And it's something we were able to work on. I didn't say, oh, okay, he cannot sleep. Let's just take it like that. You know, he cannot sleep. Let's take it that way. No. And again, I'm a behavior analyst, and we're known for, ABA teaches you to put structures, strict structures, but it has worked for me. It has worked for me really good. Another thing that I will say that, worked for me is also the fact that I did not dwell on the myths and the misconceptions. You hear all those myths around. Find out, if your husband may have used him to do money, whatever. Or we have heard all sorts. We've heard all sorts. We've heard the stories. And like Webimo said, don't dwell on them. What's the need to running after someone? A mother came to me in my office and she was crying and she said, oh, her mother-in-law allowed the child to sleep, from her hand, and the child sleeps and she feels, and I said, my own child didn't sleep, but he's still autistic, so it's best for you to choose your battles. Choose your battles. You have a lot of work ahead of you. You have so much to do. Don't go dwelling on the minors. It's good to know. It's good to know about the vaccines. I mean, there's no proof that vaccines cause autism at all, but a lot of parents, and myself including, would say, oh, my child regressed after he got a vaccine. But that is the link that people would say, well, now that I know better, I do understand that there are genetic predispositions, so go learn all of those things, one after the other. They may look huge. When the results come, the words are big. I had to go learn about the methylation circle, mitochondrial issues. I had to learn about the MTRRO gene, for example. I had to learn about, so there were so many things I had to learn. And for me, each time I don't understand something, I take a course. So someone said, one of my friends, Jamila, she says I'm addicted to reading, to taking a course. See, you tell me my child needs occupational therapy, I go and do a diploma in occupational therapy. If you tell me my child needs speech and language therapy, I go and do a diploma in speech and language therapy. If you tell me my child has sensory issues, I go on and become a sensory enrichment professional. If you tell me, oh, my child is a candidate for street special education, I go on to go and do a degree in special education. As I'm trying to push my child, the first thing I'm doing is I'm pushing myself, because you have to be out there to be able to. I know we are not all that strong. We are all built differently, but find strength. It's inside of you. Thank you.
Wow. So just like, if you notice, I'll just get on nodding because you were speaking, for me, the truth. You were speaking nugget and the truth. And I hope parents are listening. And all that you said was not very far from what Wemimo said. And the good thing for me is that you're both parents. So you both know where the shoe hurts. When I was speaking to you, I said, I'm a professional. I'll speak from theoretical and practical and experiences I've had with children. They are not my own biological kids, but working with them from time to time, you see some experiences that are similar, some are different. But it's much easier for people to judge and say, you know what, you don't have a child with special needs, so you might not have it all together, or what to tell us what to do or what to do, not to do. But hearing from you and from Webimo, I think it just aligns and makes everything look like, you know what, we've been there, we've done that. Listen to us and let's see how we can help. And that will bring me to the next. I have two more questions for each of you, and then I'll see what our audience have to say to us. And we'll end. But before we do that, we'll go on a very short break, less than a minute, 30 seconds about, on a break, and then we'll be back. So please stay with me. Do not go anywhere, and we'll be right back. Get a glass of water, drink water, and just catch your breath, and then we'll be back. Thank you.
DYSLEXIA, he give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. Buckets he won't give up, no, cause he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. DYSLEXIA. He can anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But KC won't give up, no, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Well, my guest, I said not to go anywhere. Good to have you back.
Right here.
Welcome back. I'll dance in the background. Where you all dancing at the background. So welcome back. Welcome back. I'll take some comments from our audience, and then I'll come back to you, Daisy. There's something you said, several things you said, but I wanted to also clarify something that is part of the world in Nigeria. We'll talk about that. I'll go back to Wemimo, then we'll take the last question. But let me quickly read some of the comments from our audience. So people are excited that you're here. You know, welcome, welcome, Wemimo, welcome, Daisy. Yeah, Ifechio just is a very inspiring story. Thank you. Blessing also says inspiring. Blessing Gabi says inspiring. You know, so which means, of course, you know, there's no way a mother of a child especially will speak to you that you won't be inspired, especially this caliber of mother that we have here. Just listen to them talk. And like Daisy was, I always say that, look, when you want to speak as a parent, I mean, for you to even hand over your child to any service provider, you have to come from a knowledgeable point of view, so that when you're speaking, no one is telling you your child needs this. And you need to ask questions. And not everybody will be like Daisy that wants to be an ethical, really. But you have to know. There's a place of knowing. Well, I'm sure you did the same thing. You want to know, and we're going to get to you. I'm coming to you very soon. So everyone is excited to have you. Blessing Gabe just reiterating what we've said. Why focus on the things that my son is not good at, rather than focusing on the things that he's good at? It just, even with neurotypical kids, when you keep talking about the negative part of the child, they just don't say the reason why they should work on the good part. So let's learn to celebrate their successes and their strength. So most of all the things that have been said here is that most of the retaining all that we've said: accept the diagnosis, do not put pressure on the child, create an enabling environment instead. Thank you all. Thank you to all our guests. Thank you for your comment. Thank you. Aisha, so sorry to hear about your poor network. I'm sure you can always rewatch the video on our YouTube channel, because there's so much we can all learn from one another. So back to you, Daisy. I like the fact that you mentioned when someone says you need speech therapy, you go and take a course on that. You need physical therapy, you go in and take a course on that. You need that whatever it is, you take a course so that you can be knowledgeable in that aspect. We've said this on this show before, and I've said it over and over again, maybe because of my kind of training that I got. I'm certified like you. I think we're two in some way. You know, there's some things that we have in common, and I understand the place of professionalism. My certification covers speech, language, and communication impairment, which means I can work with children with speech impairment. But I always try to take to, because I said to people, I'm not a speech therapist. I will not. I'm a member of ASHA, American Speech, Hearing, and Language Association, which, I mean, it's just to brush up my knowledge with speech and language communication and disorders. But I've seen cases, and this, I wanted to answer this question because you mentioned it, and I like the way you came about. You talk about it. When I hear this, I go take a course. When I hear that, I go take a course. You know, and I've seen people and I've seen parents come to me and say, you know what, I have this therapist, and I'm like, what is this therapist doing with your child? Because that word is generally used here, a therapist, you know. And they say, oh, she is a speech therapist, she's a physical therapist, she's an educational therapist, she's, you know, everything. And then sometimes when I probe further, I don't even have, so, you know, the place of taking records and having reports and all of that, you can't even really see anything per se, you know. So I'd want you to answer based, you are in Nigeria. Is it possible for one person to be all of this to a child?
Okay, you know, when we're talking, I said I have a diploma in special education needs. I have a diploma in speech and language therapy. I have a diploma in occupational therapy. I have a diploma in play therapy. I'm a sensory enrichment professional. I've taken courses on rhythmic movement therapy and all of that thing.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, who are you? I will tell you I'm an applied behavior analyst. And that's because that is a certification that I have more exposure to. Now, so picking up a course from the internet, all of this I did online. So if I pick up a course on the internet, it doesn't make me a professional. And parents need to know that. When therapists come to you, you need to find out who they are. Ask to see. I mean, it's not wrong for you to say, can I see your CV? Can I see certificates? You're employing them. So you need to ask, what kind of certification do you have? The fact that somebody has done courses in all of these areas or attended, the most annoying one is they attended a 2-day seminar and then suddenly they say they are special educators, or they attended the GC Bank. That's the most common one I hear. I was trained on GC Bank. No, GC Bank doesn't train you. GC Bank it's a seminar, it's a conference, and you don't get trained that way. So those are questions parents need to ask. I hear that when somebody says, I'm an all-round therapist. How can you be an all-round therapist? Therapy could be a beautician. You could work in a spa and still be called a therapist. So what kind of therapist are you? Yeah, so it's important to ask, and we are getting to that level now. Thank God in Nigeria, we have the Association of Behavior Analysts in Nigeria now, ABAN, and we're hoping that we begin to also have maybe special educators, what's it called, association, or, you know, like we have NASEN and NASET, and we have all of that. So we are getting there, but it's the time. It's a time for us to start asking questions and asking for better. As a matter of fact, I tell people that I don't hire old therapists in my organization. And it's because of this, because it's so difficult for you to change their mindset, to help them to understand that, see, you cannot be doing everything. There are cases that we cannot, and people need to be able to understand that. If someone says, I cannot work with your child, and I do say that a lot, you know, like in my Lagos school, I do not work with children with physical challenges. And that's because the building is not built to support, you know, people who have, you know, physical challenges. I do not work with children who have cleft palate, for example. That's a strictly speech therapist's job. You know, I do not work with, there's certain children I can't work with. And I will tell you that I'm not, this is above my, or is beyond my competence. People need to learn to be able to understand that. See, there are no jobs in Nigeria. There are no jobs in Nigeria. So someone read industrial biology and then goes to do a 1-week course somewhere and says, I'm a therapist. That's not good enough. So ask for certification, that is one. Ask them who is supervising them. It's very important. You know, before you pick up somebody from off the street, who is your supervisor? You know, you can't just decide that I'm doing this. If somebody says, I'm a behavior analyst, for example, please can you tell me what professional bodies you belong to? These are ways that we can begin to ensure that there's some level of sanity, you know, in the system. So ask them those questions. Can I see your certifications? Can I know who is mentoring you? If this child brings up a behavior that is beyond you, who are you going to call in? Your child is too precious to hand over to anybody on the street. I keep saying that. Your child is too precious. You can't give a child who needs a surgery to a panel beater. You know, you can't do that. If your child needs a surgery, you can't call your vulcanizer to say, come take care of this child. You will go to a doctor, not just any doctor. The eye doctor will not help you. Yeah, the eye doctor will not help you if the child has a problem with the stomach. You know, they are people who are specialists and who are professionals in certain fields. Go to them, no matter how expensive. Now, there's one thing I keep hearing from parents, and I do understand how it is. They say, oh, these so-called professionals, these names, they are expensive. They have, you know, they're quite expensive. But sometimes you end up spending more when you have someone do the wrong thing. with your child. So it's always a good idea. And sometimes it may not be as expensive. I've had parents come to pleasant places, and as soon as they walk in, they say, we cannot afford you. Don't worry, ma, we cannot afford you. It may not be as expensive as you think. Take that walk, have that discussion. And even if you need to pick anybody, ensure that they do, the right thing. Thank God for trainings and certifications in Nigeria now. You can go to organizations, that train. You have Lola's Cadet Academy, you have Pleasant Places Training Academy, you have Shades of Life Care that also has an academy. So we have Patrick's Speech. So we have quite a number of organizations now who are doing training. There's no excuse anymore. And then, of course, the internet is there.
Thank you for that. I needed you to clarify that because women could have been, the system is different in the UK. And Father, you mentioned that, brought that question up. And that's one thing we try to do on finding out with special needs. Yes, we're not at the regulatory bodies yet, but let's keep telling the truth on this show so that people can learn and parents can hear. Service providers can know. Some people would go for, like you said, there's a difference between a certificate of participation or attendance and a certification itself. So I pray we all, because really and truly, like Daisy said also, why would I have a heart condition and say, no, I want to see a neurologist? I don't get it, really. So thank you for clarifying. I needed to chip that in because it's
Can I quickly say, please?
Yes.
Because let's be a little bit culturally also responsive. We do understand that here in Nigeria, the bulk of the work falls on the parents. And that's because the government really doesn't care. We don't have anybody paying for anything. Everything has to come out of pocket, unlike, outside of Nigeria. What I can say is we do understand that it's not always possible to get professionals. But you can actually, first and foremost, seek help for yourself as a parent. Most people will be happy. Yes, most people, take courses like this, programs like this, join programs like this, talk to people. They will be willing to share with you what they have been. Don't just go do trial and error. And very importantly, know that every child is different. The fact that a child got discharged from therapy and lost his diagnosis with this organization does not mean that every child in that organization will work the same way. People are different, backgrounds are different, the history is different, diagnosis is different, and then of course we talk about the entire spectrum where people can fall on along different lines.
Thank you. Talking about that, one minute, just hold your thought. I wanted to put this out quickly so that, because one thing we do on Find Out with Special Needs is, like Daisy said, is that find help, and that's what this program is about. Daisy, is it okay? I always ask because I just like to be courteous. Is it okay to share your contact right now on the system?
Please feel free, by all means.
Also,
by all means, do so.
Please, thank you so much, because all we want to do on this platform is to share knowledge. We keep saying get knowledge. You want to hold your hands and say, look, I said to parents, call me. If I'm not, like, my day can be crazy, but especially parents, I pick up their calls. I tell them, ask this, ask that, do this, do that, so that you are speaking from a knowledge. It helps also, and that's what we do here. So we're going to share when we must contact right now. It's going to be going on the scroll right now. We're scrolling right now, and also Daisy, so that copy it, reach out to them. If they can't remember, tell them I found you on Lola Aneke show. Find out with Special, and they'll remember. They will attend to you. Is it? Am I lying, Daisy? Am I lying when
we'll attend to you faster.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. So back to you now, Daisy. Thank you. You're just awesome. I love you. Thank you so much. And remember, I love you. I love you so much. You are my role model. Everybody, my role model. You're my role model.
Yes, so I was actually proud of you. In addition to what Stacey said. So in the UK, yes, I do acknowledge that, like, there's a limit to help you can get. There's totally no help at all. And that's why when most parents who are in Nigeria, or I also get from Ghana as well, who contact me, I kind of feel their pain and I understand, So for example, like, there's a limit to help they provide for you. So, like, for example, like she was saying, like, even though we had the access to getting someone to come and assess him, they give they put like educational plan in place and stuff like that. You don't really, there's a limit to everything, really. So like with the speech and language therapies now, especially when you're on NHS, there's a limit to what they will give you access to. But most parents who go on to do like speech therapy, ABA, all that, they actually pay from their pocket. So I'll just like to make that clear, like they actually pay for their pocket. Like with me now, my kids never did, apart from them having access to a speech therapist, and that was to, I think, up to when it was like 5-ish, when it entered reception, because then when you have the EAC plan, they don't really get that much involved with you. So I never had any other support else. But I had like what Miss Daisy said, regardless of what, I think most parents don't understand how expensive it is to raise special needs children. If I show you my backyard like this, you say, well, Mama, are you running a school? I have trampoline, I have swing, because when Shahim is steaming or he needs to get that sensory stuff out, he always goes there to, get that out of the system kind of thing. So like you can have special needs children and not expect that it's going to come with some financial costs.
It is expensive.
So even though I don't do speech therapy, like almost every year I spend almost roughly £600 always buying something. So like now I know that my son Sufyan likes water and Susan likes playing outdoor. Now there are other gadgets I'm going to get now. Hoping to get next week, which is going to cost about £600, and that's coming out from my pocket, from the profits that I make from my sensory business. Do you get what I'm saying? So, like, I think it's very important for parents to hear that, because if you think about it, if you're willing to go for a share B, pay for a share B, go for a party, and pay 500,000 naira. I'm not trying to insult anybody or whatever, but we just have to say how it is, Or you are wearing bone straight hair for £500, I'll be 500,000 naira paying for it, or carrying Gucci bag or whatever. You should be willing to invest. It comes with a cost, and all these costs really helps your children. And I also get some parents who think that a speech therapy or the school is going to do magic on your children. I'm sorry, no matter how much money you spend on your child, if you as the parents, you're not involved, you're not continuing from where the school has left off, or whatever, you're leaving your children for housemates to take care of, you're not going to, you are not going to see the improvement you're looking for. It is not going to happen. Like, for example, and some things that Miss Daisy said that I really agree with that, like in terms of, like with me, I accept my children as being autistic. That is who they are. I don't see it as a condition. I don't see anything. I said, but it is very important that every child you have to, there's something greater in them. There's something that they are better off than. Like now, because Shahim is autistic, there were so much pushing for Shahim to go to a special needs school. And I said, why should he go to a special needs school? Because he's autistic. So to me, you are writing my child off because he's autistic. No, he's going to go to school. Since he has an EAC plan, he has the ability to go to a mainstream school to be with other children. And him being with other children who are not, because in the school they accept children with disability. So the thing I noticed when I observe Shahim very much, I noticed that his main thing is social interaction. And the only way you can learn that social interaction is by being with so many diverse children. Like Shahim now doesn't understand the concept of friendship, but he has so many friends. Everybody loves Shahim. Oh, we love Shahim. Shahim, come and play with us. But if you say, Shahim, what's your friend's name? He will not tell you. He doesn't really understand that. So I push him very well. And at some point, they were like, you know what? Your child cannot cope in a special needs in our school. He has to go to a special needs school. I said, why? They said, because he's not doing well in his class. I said, see, this Shahim that you're looking at, the thing that Shahim is doing in his class when I was his age, because I'm dyslexic, when I was Shahim's age, I could not do it. So if I was to judge Shahim and judge myself, Shahim is actually doing well for his age. Yes, he's not doing as good as other people in his class, but he's doing well for his age. So unless you tell me that, okay, maybe he steams too much in class, it distracts everybody. It's not. It doesn't have sensory. It's always having sensory overload because everybody is shouting, can't deal with it. Then fair enough. Yes, it can't then go to a special needs school where they can accommodate all that. But don't tell me because my child is having F in English, you should go to a special. No, 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 no. And that's why I agree with Ms. Days when she says that, you know, your child is more. You know the potential of your child. You know where your child is going to. You know that yes, your child has this, advantages. So, but because of, I'm not going to focus on this advantage because my son is not good in English. Doesn't mean he should be out of a mainstream school. So I just wanted to state that and add that to what she.
That was a good one, really.
Can I come in?
Yeah.
Daisy, can you hold your thought quickly? Just a minute, hold your thought. Because I'm bringing that question. What she said, I'm bringing it to you, and I know. And if I'm wrong, just call me back. But hold your thought, just hold it, please. Because we don't have much time. I want to answer one more question. Now I'll come back to you. You would say what you have to say. I'll ask you based on what she had said, and then we'll round up. So,
Okay.
Wemima,
Yeah.
you said something, right, about you spending, after Daisy spoke, and you have to keep spending all of that. And I said to myself, was that the reason why you decided to start your sensory store? Or why did you begin the sensory, and why is it a sensory, why not a store for equipment like for children with ADHD or children with physical impairment? Why a sensory store? And what are the benefits?
Okay, so what made me go into business was when I found out Shane was diagnosed, and I felt like I needed to have time with Shaheen, and my husband was working at the time, and I thought, okay, let me find something to do. So because my mom and like a family, they're from a fabric business. They have shops in Balogun and stuff. So I started with that first, but I didn't like it. I only did it because of the money and just to support. So I think when I really noticed that Shaheen, because I didn't get like speech therapy for Shaheen, I didn't do AB, I didn't do all that. But I noticed that for Shaheen, what worked for him was play therapy and having all these, because he normally has a lot of sensory overload and stuff. So I knew that investing in outdoor stuff would really help him. And so when I noticed that through play, Shaheen learned better, and I thought, okay, what can I do that is within that autism field or can help children with autism, or not even children with autism. So like even things like from my packaging as well, I put into consideration children with disability in general. My shop is autism and disability friendly. So like considering things like so for example, like my packaging now, it has joints outside and the names. And the reason is because like when I was like 8 years old, I remember I could not read. And when people they want to smack me and say, tell me what that is, I try to look for clues like, okay, what's the clue on this packaging? Then just call something so that I can say that. So that's what brought that idea of like, so let's say, for example, a farm kit, for example, has drawing of farm. So if a child doesn't know how to read, that will give them a guess to say, oh, a farm, it's farm or something along that like just a booster. So I felt like it was something I was really passionate about, and also reflecting on my own childhood and how difficult it was for me, growing up in Nigeria and always labeled Olodo, and always people like even my parents and teachers, everyone always labeling me and focusing on all the things I wasn't doing really good. That kind of like made me go into that and say, okay, I want to make a difference for children who have like a learning disability or special needs, or have special needs. Yeah.
Thank you. So we can find links or access to your product on your Instagram.
Yes. But at the moment, it's only shipping to the UK though. I don't ship to Nigeria just in case. Sorry.
Why? Because of the expenses that involve.
I think it's because of the expenses and also things like insurance and stuff, So,
but well done. We're really proud of you. Really, I'm proud of you. Well done. So Daisy, could you please say what you want to say? I hope it's not what I was going to ask you.
Maybe you should ask first. Okay, so I was going to talk about because there's this. I hear this every time. Should my child be in a special needs school?
That was the question I wanted to ask. I wanted to answer.
Should my child be in a special needs school? Should my child be in an inclusive school? Should my child be in a mainstream school? And then I hear a lot when parents say, because he doesn't have speech, he needs to be with other children. The truth of the matter is, if a child doesn't have the prerequisite skills, the foundational skills necessary for skills to be built in terms of language and communication, even if you put that child in the middle of a market, the child will still not speak. Yeah. That's the truth. You know, so skills need to be built for that child to be able to speak. So erroneously, I know a lot of parents would watch this and then they would say, "Oh, that mom in UK said she fought for her child to be in special needs school." Yeah, her child. Yeah, I understand you perfectly, but I just want to clarify.
I understood Shaheen's needs.
That's the point.
For example, now Sophia might actually do way better in a special needs school because even at home, for example, it doesn't in nursery. For example, they tell me because Susan started nursery, so if Susan comes to his room to visit him, he gets really irritated. So for someone like Sophia now, special needs school might actually be the best fit for him. So I'll be honest, when they first brought the idea to me when it was new, it was more of like shame that like, no, I don't want my child to be there, you know. I'll be very honest. That's just the honest truth. But then I realized that luckily I gave Shaheen the best option for him. But I am not saying, and thanks for actually saying that, Ms. Daisy, because what you said is actually true. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, she said so." No. It's what works for Shaheen.
So that's one child. Yeah, it's important. It's very important.
Even in the UK, if you don't have a EAC plan and you take your child to a mainstream school, it is even worse because they're not going to give the child the support. So what the EAC plan does is they will sit down and say the things about Shaheen we like about Shaheen, things we don't like about Shaheen, things we want to improve with Shaheen, things that doesn't work with Shaheen, and what's our aspirations for Shaheen. And based on everything we sat on and stuff, you know, and we gathered, I was like, okay, I would like to try. So at the time, I would like to try a mainstream school, which is based on, okay, part of the denial process. I don't want to accept that my child has autism. I want him to go to a special. I know he's going to learn from there. But when I started like learning more about autism and everything, I realized that, okay, there's absolutely nothing wrong in a child going to a special needs school. They actually do really well there as well. But I noticed that Shaheen's main thing was the social communication, and he used to steam a lot, you know. And so luckily, it worked out fine for Shaheen. So going back to the EAC plan. So the EAC plan, if you have an EAC plan, what it does is, so in a class you have a teacher and a teaching assistant, right? But if you have an EAC plan, you have an extra teaching assistant. So there's an assistant that is just for Shaheen, who tells Shaheen, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what
to focus on those aspects of needs.
It's time to do this. It's time to do that. If you don't have an EAC plan, don't even bother because you're going to be like miserable because they will say, okay, your child is not doing this, your child is not doing that because they don't have anything to back up that they have a diagnosis. If you get what I mean. But nothing wrong in special needs school, and there's nothing wrong in mainstream school. You just need to understand what the needs of your child are. Thank you so much.
At that time.
Because I'm sure she said, no, I'm taking my child to no. Especially
I wanted Daisy to answer that question, but she picked it out. So I'm thankful.
It's important actually that when so the support group I run is called Warrior Moms, and I say because we're always fighting. We're fighting with the system. We're fighting the prejudices. We're fighting, sometimes even within ourselves, fighting to be strong and all of that. And I say when we're doing this fight, it's important that we do it from the point of view of somebody that knows what they're doing. So we don't just pick up information and act on it. I've had a lot of parents say that, I don't want my child in special needs because of what someone told me. And someone said, let him be with other children his age. If the child is not ready for that stage, then we might actually be doing a disservice to that child. So it's always important to have the child assessed properly. If the child does need a plan, then if you're with the right professional, the professional will help you with the plan. My son, for example, has never had to use an IEP, and that's because we don't need to modify curriculums for him. He's able to flow with any curriculum, but he does always need to have a plan for him in terms of his social skills, in terms of, one or two things that he needs to learn to do. Now, there was a time I homeschooled him, but I won't do that again. So if you say, I want to homeschool my child because Daisy homeschooled, it may not also be a right fit for your child. So you need to know your own child, understand your child, and where the child is at. So what the child needs today may actually not be what the child needs tomorrow. So when we work with professionals as parents, let's allow them to guide us. Let's allow them, give them, sometimes we come with this whole, I'm going to tell them that this is what I want. After all, I'm the one paying. No, they see a lot of children. And because they see a lot of children and work with a lot of parents, they're able to support you as much as is possible. I find that sometimes I have to make decisions based on where the parent is at. So sometimes the parent is in front of me and is still in a lot of denial, and I just flow with that denial until we can work to get the parent to a point where the parent is accepting of what he or she's doing. So please, let's try to move at the pace of the child, work with that consistency. I also see in Nigeria, I don't know about outside of Nigeria, where people just keep moving. So you move from a mainstream school to a specialist school, back to a mainstream school to an inclusive school, then you drop the child at home, there's no consistency. So there has to be a plan, and you have to be a part of that plan to say, what do we intend to do with this child? Identify what is the short-term goals for this child, what is the medium-term goals, and then what is the ultimate goal. Once you're able to get all of those goals in place, it's easier. What are we, so we try as much as possible not to avoid running around. We want to address everything at the same time. The child is making progress with social skills, and we're saying, oh, but he's not yet speaking in sentences. All of that takes time. It takes time, and you have to follow the goals for that specific time, for that specific child at all times. We have a principle, we call the principle of intensity, and the principle of program, the breadth of the program. And what this means is that programs have to have some level of repeatability and consistency for them to work. And sometimes, not sometimes, every time when you break that child's routine, for one funny reason or the other, the therapist did not smile at me, they asked me to pay fees, Mrs. Jonathan is not, all of those things that we bring up as excuses. Each time you do that, you actually break the flow. And you're not allowing the child, to get the maximum that he should have. But it's important, very important as parents, that there is a plan we're following. It's very important that we know what we are doing. And we are working with the professionals as partners for the progress of your child, not as one person at one end and the other one at the other end. It's very important.
We're not antagonizing each other, and that's something you said. And for me, and I think that's what will help us even with our planning in Nigeria. Once the parent are knowledgeable, it's easier to come together to work out a plan. So there's no, oh, I don't want it this way, you don't want it that way. When everybody comes together, see what exactly is it the child needs. Once we agree, it makes it easier, as opposed to we having the case of two elephants fighting and the grass. So it's always about the child, always for the good of the child. Ladies, how do I thank you? How? You've been so amazing. I never saw us going beyond an hour, but we are almost going to 2 hours. How do I thank you? Wow. So much knowledge, so much nugget, so much truth, so much reality, so much of everything. Thank you for keeping it real. I truly appreciate you. And you are my, what did I call that word this morning? my Mother's Day superstar. Like, you guys are just, and I'm saying the truth. You've made this show so, it's always so real, but today's show was so down to earth, and I truly appreciate you. I want to appreciate our audience. Mr. Alex, thank you for making it truly inclusive. Thank you to everyone, Abosede, Omolola Lamina, Blessing, Warfare, for everyone that has joined. Thank you. And I hope we're not just going to listen. We need to spread the word. We need to do. There's a place of doing. We've gotten knowledge now. Let's go out there to do. God bless you all. Thank you for joining us. Until I come your way again next week, it is goodbye from me. Thank you, ladies. I truly appreciate you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.